I always apologize for Batman. I thought at the time this was going to be a very good career move. It wasn't.
First one, I felt like I was making a movie. The second one, I felt like I was making a toy commercial.
And I had no idea that putting nipples on the bat costume were going to be international headlines.
Welcome back to They've Watched It. Today we're getting into Batman and Robin.
Widely regarded as the cheesiest, campiest, worst Batman movie of all time. And we're going to tell you exactly why it's so bad.
This movie was so punny, you guys. Ha, ha, ha.
Hey, freeze. The heat is on.
Stay cool, bird boy.
Talk about your cold shoulder.
My garden needs tending.
That hurt. Why though? Why are there so many puns in this movie?
If this was today, I would think that AI wrote this.
Not even AI can pull off
because
this
I'm
many
sure you
puns.
can just put in AI, come up with an ice pun, come up with all the chill puns.
A lot of them were very lazy though. Let's be honest.
That's what I'm saying. AI could do that for you now. I've had to waste money on writers. This was so badly written.
I just
get it.
Come on, like it's sure you're going for a campy 60s Batman vibe. A pun or two might be okay.
Yeah, I think so. I think a few.
But good God, I feel like that final climax of the movie,
every single line is a pun.
Was a pun.
It was actually painful to watch.
Yeah, I just take out my headphones because if I hear another pun, I'm going to throw my laptop.
Every time they interacted, a villain and the hero were interacting, it would just be a pun, a pun, a pun. The whole time they're finding poison ivy. It's leaf puns, vine puns.
You're going to be compost now.
It was just so painful, you guys. They didn't know if that was a choice for the directors, the production. We're like, we don't need real writing. It's a kid movie.
Clearly a deliberate choice.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I just don't know how they got that lazy with it. And maybe some people like it. Maybe people are watching us right now and they're like,
there might be some 45, 50-year-old dads out there that just think the script is amazing and all the dialogue is perfect.
It was just bad. You watching this, you kind of wonder, how did we get to Robert Pattinson when this is around where we started? I mean, this was Batman 4 at this point, I think. It's just amazing that we've progressed.
That we're at Robert Pattinson now. Or even The Dark Knight.
Yeah.
Is probably listen to those puns and they're like, we need to make another 5 Batman movies that go without a single pun.
And thank God they have.
Yes.
You know, in comic books, they draw very beautiful, anatomically perfect people in very alluring costumes, and we owe that to the audience.
Let's talk about aesthetics.
Aesthetics.
There are some very interesting costume choices in this movie, starting with the bat suit and the Robin suit, which are kind of infamous, it seems.
You guys know what we're about to talk about.
The nipples.
The bodies for the suits the inspiration from them are Greek statues that have perfect bodies.
Why? And as an opening shot, is there his cod piece?
That was bizarre.
And his butt.
Yeah.
And his nipples.
Maybe, I think they had that because they're trying to tell you it's going to be a funny, ridiculous,
goofy movie.
Don't take it too seriously. That's what I think they're trying to say. It's also odd that it's targeted towards children. Why are we having up close crotch shots, booty shots,
even as an adult, I
nipple
don't
shots?
want a shot of up close of George Clooney's crotch.
Well, it's not even his actual crotch.
Well,
apparently, and there was a whole thing because his crotch was smaller than Robin's crotch.
Oh, yeah, the cod piece?
Yeah, because Chris O'Donnell is shorter than George Clooney.
Yeah. As much the nipples for me as it was the cod piece. I didn't think twice about it. Although now I kind of look back in some of the pictures and I'm like, that is a little unusual, I suppose.
So the director was actually really surprised when the nipple issue became such a controversy after the movie came out, and it was kind of made fun of and talked about a lot. At the time, he claims that they were going for a Roman
like a Greek statue,
Greek statue.
neoclassical kind of look.
Mm-hmm.
But why?
I think because this is before you had to work out to be Batman. Because George Clooney did not do any extensive training or dieting for this movie. This is pre-Marvel.
That's true.
Nowadays, you kind of have to work out if you're going to play a superhero. But back
you
then,
have to be
it's
pretty
like
jacked.
you just put on this cliche,
like almost like
up.
a centurion, like kind of costume.
Yeah, I think that's part of it. The actual costume designer was not happy with this. He did not want to do the nipples.
The director wanted to make them sharper and pointier.
Yes, and circled.
Yeah,
so
which
they would be emphasized.
Which tells you that this wasn't just like a casual thing they put in, but this is something they wanted to draw your attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think takes it beyond just Greek statue.
I think that's because this director really wanted this to be a sexy movie. That's basically what he's saying, even though he
claims
the studio wanted it to be kid friendly. So the costume designer apparently said that the director told him, let's showcase them. He wanted them sharpened, like with points. They were also circled, both outer and inner. It was all made into a future of the bat suit. I didn't want to do it, but he's the boss, so we sharpened them, circled them, and it all became kind of ridiculous. I don't know exactly where my head was at back in the day, but that's what I remember. And so I added the nipples, and I had no idea there was going to end up being all this buzz about it. He also did not finish the movie, he said. He said that when he went to the premiere, he walked out because it was so ridiculous. That was so funny.
I did think that was funny.
Like when you make something you already know it's so bad, you don't want to see it. You just want to put it away.
I kind of don't want to let him off the hook, though, because, like, obviously the nipples and stuff weren't his fault.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of bizarre costumes. Off the top of my head, I'm not even talking about, like, Poison Ivy and Mr. Freeze.
I think hers was fine, though.
She did at the start of the film have those like cheap plastic dollar store vines hanging off of her arm.
They were trying to make it seem like she grew out of the earth. I think that was the point.
Yeah, she looked like she was wearing
her
plastic.
Costume was probably one of the best. Always in Batman movies, the evil people in Gotham.
Sure.
They are always made to be really tacky, kind of grungy looking, with weird, almost clown-like aesthetic.
Same with the guys from the motorcycle race. Mm-hmm. They look kind of like troll dolls. I don't know.
Yeah.
They're just bizarre looking.
I think they did that a lot in the 90s ones.
Yeah, and then the gorilla suits that Bane and Poison Ivy wear.
Yeah, that's true. That too.
I don't let them off the hook completely. What are those costumes?
I think the director was going for, this is fun, we're going to be silly, this isn't serious. It's such a different vibe than the Batmans today. And I think that's what makes this more iconic. It's because it's so different. It's like somebody in high school who you see 10, 20 years later and they glow up and you're like, no way, that cannot be you. That's how this Batman feels.
Another thing that I would like to talk about are the sets, which you got to give them credit. They're big and bombastic and complicated.
They went all out. They built them from hand.
Which is really impressive.
So everything about this film was supposed to be bigger and better because Batman Returns was so big.
Batman Forever
was so big that they were then able to have a bigger budget. There was more pressure on this film to be blockbuster. So the studio wanted it to be huge, big, and dramatic. Which
I think the results were kind of ugly, though.
I think they were cheesy.
For example, you have the observatory, which has the lights of the planets circling around the ceiling, and they look like they're from a kid's nightlight kind of thing.
They do.
Yeah.
But maybe that was the kid-friendly part of the movie, you guys.
That's true.
That's the part where they're like, see, this is for kids.
Or the Disney on Ice that they had.
The Disney on Ice scene was pretty interesting. Yeah.
The whole museum frozen so they could do it on ice skates. The whole, it's a huge set at Warner's, was an ice rink with a set built on it.
So the first fight in the film is them doing Disney on Ice while they're trying to catch this diamond from the Freeze Man. And it's very...
One of the things that is kind of bad about the action, and I think this is accentuated by the set pieces because they're so big and clunky, is so much going on that you don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So much movement and so much generic ways and sound and lights and color and stuff that it's really hard to follow.
But maybe for kids that's good, you know? Color, things moving.
Yeah, it's like the visual form of Lucky Charms.
Yeah,
you know? But as someone above the age of 5, it's a bit hard to watch.
I think it is a bit hard. I think today's kids would find it very cheesy. I think kind of shows how dark movies have gotten, to be honest.
Yeah, I totally agree. Maybe a little too dark.
Because the Batman now, I would say, is not even kid-friendly at all.
No.
In a scary, dramatic...
like it's grisly and dramatic and dark.
It's definitely more of an adult film at this point, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely not kid, which is interesting how they rebranded an entire brand to be that.
Yes, exactly.
They took it from this to what we have now, and it's still... I guess it's been over 20 years, which is wild. But
that is wild, actually.
Mm-hmm.
6 million.
7 million. Never leave the cave without it.
Let's get into the acting in this movie.
First up, we're going to talk about George Clooney. I actually don't think he's that bad of an actor in this movie, per se. I just don't think he's really acting at all. He's just being George Clooney.
He's basically just being George Clooney.
Yeah,
pretty much how he is in basically every movie. But I think at this point he was already a star, so everyone kind of blamed him for how crap the movie ended up.
Yeah, I did get the impression that he kind of, I don't know if he's like phoning it in, but I did get the impression he's not really all that into it.
Yeah.
He's just kind of relying on his
normal,
extremely handsome looks and charisma to get him through the movie. You never really think you're watching Batman. You just think you're watching George Clooney in a costume, which I think...
That's a good way to say it. Yeah, he's only in the movie for about a half an hour, so you don't really get the feeling like you know Batman.
This is a 2-hour movie, so to only have a quarter of it with Batman in it, and half of that he's just looking handsome as Bruce Wayne, you don't really get a lot of a sense of what Batman's like in the movie.
Yeah, but maybe that's why it's Batman and Robin. Maybe the point was to focus more on their relationship.
Maybe so. Maybe so.
They do interact a lot.
But it's like, why get Clooney if you're not going to use Clooney?
They did use him, though. The director said that he wanted Clooney for his appeal, you know?
Yeah, I'd give him a solid, what do you think? 7 out of 10?
6. It didn't feel like his heart was in the act. Next up, we have Chris O'Donnell, who played Robin.
Is your thumb the only part of you that's green?
You will just have to find out.
I want us to be together, but I want to make sure you're serious about turning over a new leaf.
His acting was generically good,
Yeah,
not
I thought
terrible.
it was actually not that great.
But not bad for a cheesy movie. Like, generically good for a cheesy movie. He's very 90s hot, as in, now he wouldn't be considered as hot or interesting, but at the time, he's very classic 90s hot.
That's true.
And he seems like a really good guy as a person, though.
Yeah, actually, look, he's really nice in interviews.
Yeah.
Really enjoyed hearing him talk.
Normal, level-headed person, so...
But in the movie, I don't know, I think this is actually probably more the director's choice than the actual actor's choice. But he's really whiny and entitled.
Yeah.
And it makes you just really not like the guy.
Because he's supposed to be, I think he's supposed to have little brother rebellion vibes with Batman. And Batman's supposed to be the reasonable one who's teaching him. So he's extra whiny. And they fight over women. Then we have Arnold Schwarzenegger.
I hate when people talk during the movie. All right, everyone. Chill.
I think Artie's my favorite part of the movie.
He did good. You know what? He went all in, I think. He went into his character.
Shamelessly. I think he was a trooper, because that had to have been a process to get him into that costume. Because he's the only one that seems to have taken the bad movie seriously. He actually is not afraid to actually embody this really badly written character. Actually trying to be the character, emote as a character, and not shying away from the fact that he's also wisecracking, like, you need to chill out, pun master.
He's not afraid to look ridiculous. I
Yeah,
think that's what it is.
He's shameless, and which I think is actually makes him the most enjoyable part of the movie.
Because this movie was ridiculous, so taking it seriously felt awkward.
Owning it.
Maybe that's why Clooney feels weird.
Oh,
because he's trying to take it seriously.
No, I think
but everyone is
Clooney's
so comic.
He's trying to make himself serious. He's not owning ridiculousness of the movie, I think, the way Arnie does.
Because Batman's supposed to be moody.
Not in this one, though.
And the director talked about how they got criticized because he wanted to do a lighthearted Batman.
Yeah.
And everybody expects a dark, brooding Batman. But he wanted to make it more kid-friendly. And although this movie is not kid-friendly,
not even
I don't know how they sold this as kid-friendly. Very interesting. Very interesting.
Yeah.
We'll get into that later.
Arnie, what do you think out of 10?
This movie is just bad. I give him 6 for effort.
10. I give him 10 out of 10.
I don't think I've ever thought Arnold Schwarzenegger's acting was good, but that's another story.
Oh, I don't mind you at all. Men.
Then we have Uma Thurman, who played Poison Ivy, and she really got into her character.
I think she did great.
I think she's the best actor in this whole film.
I think maybe it's just the accent she adopted. She tried to adopt like British-ish.
But
like, I'm evil and you're going to listen to me.
When I was watching, but her natural accent is kind of like that, actually.
Oh.
I think they made her accent that way because her voice is a little lower naturally, and I think they wanted to give it more power because she's a villain. This day, she's really proud of her Batman stuff.
And you are?
Batgirl.
That's not awfully PC. What about bad person or bad woman?
Bruce, it's me, Barbara.
Okay, and then we have Alicia Silverstone.
I thought her acting was really similar to how she is in Clueless, which makes sense because I think Clueless is 1995. It reminded me a lot of her character in Clueless. It felt similar.
Do you think that that's like actually her acting, or do you think that's just kind of like how she presents in a movie?
I don't know because I haven't seen her in enough stuff, to be honest. I think she tends to play a similar character. I don't think her acting was bad for a kid movie. I thought
it wasn't
I
offensive.
thought she did good, honestly. Yeah, I give her a set, like 6, 7.
I'd give her a 6, sure. Okay.
6, okay.
So let's talk about the messaging of the film, which, first of all, I did not think that this was supposed to be kid-friendly.
Yes.
But it turns out that was the intent because they wanted to sell toys.
Yeah, so the director talks about how basically from day one, before they even started shooting, the whole point was so that they could sell these toys. So they had to come up with the concept of the costumes, the Batmobile,
the set design,
all of that stuff.
So that they could sell action figures.
So, and apparently the studio was also pushing for it to be a super kid-friendly film. And the fact that this is what was considered kid-friendly is just very interesting to me, very interesting.
But I will take responsibility for casting and glorifying beauty and sexuality in this. That's part of the fun of the Batman comic book.
Yeah.
There's a lot of sexualization in this film.
Yeah.
A lot of it is the Poison Ivy character, but pretty much every character, honestly, except for Alicia Silverstone.
Even then, it's kind of like iffy with her costume.
That's true.
Because, I mean, her costume still has, like, raised nipples.
No, so they didn't do that.
Well, it's not like the, like, pointy ones.
Yeah.
But it's still, like, you can still see it.
They made it more similar to the cones in a 1950s bra.
There's a lot of sexualization of women. Obviously, Poison Ivy's the prime example, and that is part of her character.
It's pretty much her whole character. The whole thing is pretty much her using her sex appeal and the pheromones that she
manipulate men
to getting what she wants.
Yeah. Honestly, there's a lot of like female side characters that just kind of exists to be visual eye candy.
Lots of references to sex throughout the whole thing. But it's
Yeah.
just odd because if you're thinking who was supposed to be the target of this, it's what, 5 to 9-year-old boys probably?
Yeah.
And some girls, but mostly boys, I'm assuming. And I'm like, how is this passed as kid friendly? And then the director talks about how this was his Batman, and he wanted to put in who he thought was the hottest girl at the time. So Uma Thurman. Am I saying her last name right?
Thurman.
Uma Thurman. And basically, he just says he doesn't apologize for
casting hot
over-sexualizing.
people.
Well, yeah, for casting hot people and over-sexualizing the film because that's the fun of Batman.
Yeah.
And I'm like, is it? I don't know. Honestly,
I don't know.
guys, I'm not a Batman person, so I can't say that this is what the comics are.
I like Batman. It's not technically either true or wrong. It's kind of like, yeah, like sure, their costumes, they look like idealized, like Greek statue bodies. And that is the vibe they were going for with the costumes. But there's not a lot of emphasis on like cod pieces and ass and
the clips
nipples.
are weird.
Yeah.
The up closeness, the fact that this was for children.
Yeah.
Very odd. I
It's
did look
very
up the
strange.
rating. It was rated PG-13. So, but honestly, what 14-year-old would be like, wow, Batman, this is really cool? Maybe, I guess. I don't know. But is that what?
I mean,
Today's Batman, yes. Today's Batman. But
that's true. It's
but,
not like this is not the Batman I grew up on.
Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm like, I don't think most kids 13 and up were like, oh wow, you know who's really cool? George Clooney and Batman and.
Well, yeah, because it looks like a Hasbro advertisement. Like, if you're like 14, you're not playing with like Hasbro action figures anymore.
Exactly. So clearly, this is for real children.
Have like just so many sexual references.
So many sexual references. Yeah. So that was an interesting part of the movie that I thought was a little controversial.
A bit odd.
A bit odd.
And another thing on top of that is even the men, their entire motivation seems to be centered around women.
Yeah.
Even though Mr. Freeze, Arnie's character, refuses the advances of a bunch of women throughout the movie, I mean, his whole motivation is still getting his girl back.
Which his love seemed the most wholesome, honestly, out of all of
Yes,
them.
that's true.
Yeah,
That's truly Poison Ivy. Like, her whole character is about manipulating men through sexuality.
You two boys aren't gonna start fighting over little old me now, are you?
I thought that was a little let down in the movie, is that her only power is manipulating men. It's not like, is there nothing, we don't want to teach children that there's anything else you could offer but your sexuality, your looks, nothing?
Which is something that Batgirl touches on, but it's in this like really cringy 90s and not like other girls way.
Yeah.
Using feminine wiles to get what you want, trading on your looks. Read a book, sister.
Cliched.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah,
cliche.
so it doesn't really have effective messaging either. Okay, final rating of the movie. Lana, what did you think?
Final rating, I think I'm gonna go. I'll give it a 2 out of 5, you guys. I think the whole over-sexualization
really did it for you.
To kids was just gross to me. But I think Uma Thurman did a really good job, and I think Arnold gave it his all. And I think it is cheesy in a kind of endearing way.
I'd give it. Yeah, I think I'd even give it like a 2.5, maybe a 3.
Ooh, a 3. Okay.
Just because it's a very interesting movie visually.
It is.
And I do think I was entertained in a lot of parts, especially by Uma Thurman and Arnold Schwarzenegger. It was pretty funny watching George Clooney not be able to turn his head.
Yeah. Or just Clooney being Clooney.
Yeah, just Clooney being Clooney. Because I was entertained. It did achieve the goal for me. But yeah, it's not a good movie by any stretch of the imagination.
No. But I do recommend watching it.
Give it a watch if you want to laugh.
Yeah, if you want to laugh or you just want to cringe out a little.
Exactly.
Watch some clips of some puns, guys.
And remember, chill out.
Oh my god. Thanks for watching, you guys. Show us some love in the comments.